What's up guys, it's that Panda guy and I'm here again with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the best packs to buy. And this video is going to be obviously based on what I think are the best value packs. Where I'm going to be kind of scaling would be, for example, when you consider what's it called, the workshop, right? Obviously they give stats and stuff compared to something that would maybe just give you speed ups, right? And I find that to be much higher value and stuff. So this also isn't financial advice, and a lot of this is relative to how much you spend, so obviously if you spend $100 a month, the advice I might give you would be different than someone who spends $1,000 a month, right? So it is kind of hard to tell you exactly what you should spend on, but I will tell you guys the best packs that I kind of find value in, and I'll be talking about maybe somewhat of a spender scale that you should be to kind of consider them. So this was not on my current list, right? So I'm gonna actually start off with it so I can get out of the way. But I did have a list, and I want to thank Crut, because he helped me with this, and he told me some of his thoughts on it. And yeah, we'll start off with when you go to, where is it? It should be limited time promo, right? And basically there are these weekly vehicle mod packs, and this is, like I said, relative to how much you're willing to spend. In this case, let's imagine that you're able to spend the $385 a week, or you're maybe able to do this once a month or once a year, whatever the case, right? And if you are able to do this, this is a pretty big bump in the road, or a big boost in the road when you kind of think about it. And it is something I would tell you to consider, because the thing is, if you guys don't know, there are tier 3 things in the workshop, which would be right here. And let's say you needed 400 of these blueprints to get it. I want you to know that if you buy out the weekly thing, just for one, if you buy out the weekly packs right here, and these do get more expensive, so it goes $5, $10, $20, I think it's $50, then $100 3 times, and then you have just enough for 400 of these blueprints, which will get you one tier 3 device. And these do max out once a week, so you can spend $385 to max buy this, and this is a pretty good value if you had to ask me. But it's not good value if you're not able to max this out, or at the very least unlock the tier 3 vehicle. Maybe if you were to buy this over a period of time and slowly work it up, I would understand where you're coming from, but otherwise it doesn't make a lot of sense, since there are better packs for people who aren't able to spend as much. So I wouldn't recommend this for a low spender, but if you're able to spend, let's say, the $385, just an example, to get your foot in the door and unlock one of these tier 3 workshop things, and maybe upgrade it a little bit, that is something I would recommend. You don't need any more of these blueprints when it comes down to upgrading it, although it does get pretty pricey to upgrade it at some point, you know what I mean? So it will either take you a really long time to progress it, or you will have to spend more money to progress it in a shorter period of time. But yeah, obviously you should really consider what you're able to spend on, because if you're not trying to cripple your wallet and stuff, you shouldn't be trying to spend on skins or something, or lethal outbreak or something, for example, right? Because obviously, maybe it's something that you would want to spend on if you were to get stuff from the mall, but it's not the best value, especially if you're looking for a skin. For example, if you wanted the squad skin voucher right here, and you need 100 of these to unlock one of the skins, the squad skins in your base, and it's just if that's your goal, you're not spending the most effectively. I could understand why you're doing it, but that isn't something I would really recommend at Lethal Outbreak or anything. Not something I would recommend to players. One event I would recommend is base exploration. I do have videos on a lot of these things, and you can look this up: base exploration, Doomsday Last Survivors. Maybe I'll have a video on that. I'm not 100% sure. But it is an event that comes up, and it's an armament event, and armament events are really helpful, so that is one that I would semi-recommend spending on. Not something I would tell you that you need to spend on, though. And like I said, this is all relative to how much you can spend, right? So if you're not able to spend a ton of money, maybe that's something I would avoid. For example, I spend at best, what I do is I normally just get the privilege subscription, which costs $5, and these give me a variety of bonuses, like the development privilege, research speed, training speed, zombie XP, stamina recovery. I get this aid station thing, so when I go into let's say Island Raid or Archipelago Raid, I get an extra 5% death recovery, not to mention my aid station capacity, which is outside of PvP events, obviously. So if I was to get attacked and burnt right now, I have a 20% extra capacity than I normally would. And yeah, this does give you some of your deaths back during events like Island Raid or Archipelago Raid, and I guess outside of that, if you were to get zeroed by chance, right? And it gives 10% of that back daily, I believe. And then you also can collect all your alliance gifts at a time. For example, right here, usually this will be locked if you don't get that. That is something I would recommend to like just people in general. Like I feel like this is a pretty good thing. There's Doomsday Express, which has like premium passes and stuff. These are pretty decent value, you know what I mean? Like it is something I would recommend, but at the same time, if you are like pinching pennies and you're not desperate for the gems and the resources that this gives, I would recommend on something like armaments or something. As the thing is, I want to improve my stats as much as possible, so it's the first thing I focus on. Another thing are going to be these weekly armament events, right? And they change it up sometimes, but it is always of the same premise, where you can buy like 2 kind of tiers and you can get like armaments, right, which will give you at least 2 full pieces worth of like epic piece of armament thing, whatever it's called, armament, like backpack in this case, and then it'll give you 1 full legendary backpack thing, because I get 10 here, I get 20 here, and you need 30 to craft a backpack. And overall, what I do is I buy these weekly and I try to max out I'm trying to max out at least 1 hero, you know what I mean? Slowly working on it. It is taking me a while, but I am getting there, I feel like the armament weekly things are one of the best value things that you could get in the game right now. Another thing is the customization contest. This one, I'm like super picky about getting it. I don't want to get it, but at the same time, I would recommend it to people, because if you get, for example, these 2 every week, you get at least 75 of these T2 blueprints, and you need 100 of these T2 blueprints to get 1 tier 2 armor kit, right? And or whatever the case, it's not always an armor kit. Sometimes it's this engine mod, whatever. But you get some of these tier 2 things in the workshop, which will be a big improvement on the stats that you would get compared to the tier 1 things. And if especially, and this is mostly the case if you're not able to get the tier 3 stuff, I just recommend it a lot more. And even if you are able to get the tier 3 things, you might want to get them just for the what's it called? These little coins, whatever you want to call them, because obviously you need these to progress your level, level these kind of things up, So it is something I would recommend to people, depending on, like I said before, how much you're willing to spend. Personally, I don't recommend the piggy bank. It's not like it's some high value pack. I mean, it gives you good gems for how much you spend, but I don't really care for it all that much. Like I said, I personally am more of a stat person. I would rather spend my money on something that's going to improve my stats, like my gear, like my armaments, or like my workshop, for example. So if I had a choice, I would spend on that over a piggy bank that just gives me gems, and I don't really struggle on gems. It's another thing. I don't really care for it personally. I know some people get it. It's decent value. It's just not crazy. Another thing, and I don't know if we have it right now, I think I saw it just yesterday, but it's this thing called lottery device, and I don't really recommend this unless you're a huge spender, and I think it costs like $200 plus, maybe $300 to max it, and the lottery for that is kind of rigged, so you'll actually have to max buy that to potentially get the device fragments. The devices, sorry, I did not mean to click that. Devices are going to be what you kind of place right here, you know what I mean? So in my case, I have this IE augmenter, and potentially if I were to spend, let's say, the $300 and max those out every week, I would get another device and maybe level it up, and I would have 2 legendary devices. But in this case, I'm not spending all that, so I do not have that second device, device that goes in my armaments section. But lottery device is a pretty good value event if you are willing to spend a lot of money. Just don't recommend it to non-whales. There is this shovel event. That one's pretty solid. I don't care for it that much. I mean, it gives you something decent, but it's kind of like a spend a certain amount and you get these as well, so whatever. Another thing I want to mention are Popup Packs. These tend to be really good, and I don't know if I can trigger one right now. I don't really have any heroes I can upgrade that. My epic heroes are upgraded, but just for example, if I were to awaken my Miyamoto right now, I would maybe get a Popup Pack for, let's say, $20, and maybe I would get 20 universal fragments, and by universal fragments, I mean these, which means that I can use these on any hero, and I can level up their skill, so it would give me like 20 universal fragments and other various rewards. But honestly, I find that to be a pretty good value pack. Another really good Popup Pack that I find is when you go into your profile and you upgrade, let's say, a part, and this doesn't always activate a Popup Pack, but let's say I was to upgrade a piece of my equipment here. Let's say I went right here and I was able to upgrade this part and I upgraded it. I would maybe get a pop-up pack, which would kind of come over here, and then I could grab that for $10, $20. It really depends on the part that you're upgrading, because if it's upgrading a blue, you might get a $10 one. If it's upgrading a purple, you might get a $20 one. If it's gold, you might get a $50 one. It's just a variety depending on what you're landing on, but those usually are good. The thing about parts is it's depreciated in value compared to other things like armaments, like workshop. So it tends to be the last thing people focus on these days. So it's like the last out of the three, that would be the last thing I would focus on, right? There is something else that you could spend on, but I don't really recommend it to the vast majority of players, because you really don't need to spend on this. Is going to be, for example, mighty equipment, and even in the premium packs in general. I want to actually mention this. For example, part revamp, the value is obviously going to be worse here. I mean, if you're a big spender, this is probably worth buying out, but if you're not a big spender, I don't really recommend that, because like I said, pop-up packs tend to be better value than anything you would really get here. But another thing I would have mentioned was like mighty equipment. I don't really recommend spending on equipment. And just an example, I have multiple accounts here, but if I was to use my where I can't even find it. Whatever. I have accounts here though, and if you just play long enough, I'll use Kaz as an example. He's a semi older player. He's not like super old. I don't know if he shows up for every Antipede, but you see his gear is all right. Not maxed yet, and not even mine is maxed. I think there's been Antipede for around 2+ years. But if you consistently get your carbon in arena, you consistently get it from Antipede, you'll be able to eventually max that gear. I mean, if you're a big spender, obviously you want to max that as soon as possible to get the additional stats. But if you are like a mid spender or something, it's just not something I would recommend investing heavily on, as it is something that you can improve over time. And compared to like how much you have to spend on it to level it up compared to what you'll get from free stuff, it just doesn't seem worth it at all, and it's not really not really worth it. But yeah, there's a $5 pack that you get, I think, when you unlock heroes and stuff, and just stuff like that. You get the $20 pack when you awaken heroes, that pop-up pack. So those are really good. There are some other things like Z-Virus, I believe. If you like fail to beat a mission in Z-Virus, you get a pretty, I would call it decent. I wouldn't say it's insane, but there's like a pop-up pack that if you want to understand what I'm talking about, you can lose one real quick, and I think it might pop up. There are other things like, I guess, like first purchase in the gym mall. So if I get the first time purchase right here, I'll get the 60,000 additional gems right here. That's pretty good. There is that one pack that I think it's $20, and it's like for every few HQ levels you get a certain amount of gems. That one's pretty good value. And yeah, I don't think there's much else for me to kind of mention. I mean, yeah, there's that growth pack. I think it might be called growth pack. I don't know what it's called exactly, but it's that one where you level up your headquarters, let's say 25, and then you get 100k gems or 60k gems or however much that is. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything I missed here, and you guys think I missed it, and there's something that's really amazing value, put it in the comment section. I was trying to say like somewhat low value ones, and I know I mentioned like I mean, this isn't like low value pack cost, but maxing this out is pretty good, I would consider, compared to some other things when it comes to stats. So I thought I would mention it, but otherwise, if I missed anything, you guys let me know in the comment section. I would just want to do this video, kind of inform people and refresh it, because I have an old video that's kind of outdated now compared to this one, where I might be telling people to invest in parts. I now want to tell people to invest in workshop, or I want to tell them to invest in armaments and then parts, because parts would be considered the worst value when it comes to spending your money. So if you spend $1 for 1% stats on parts, you might be able to spend 20 cents for 1% stats on workshop. Just an example. It's just like the goalpost has moved a lot. So you guys let me know what you guys think though about this. Okay, if I missed anything, do let me know in the comment section, and I do appreciate you guys as always for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I will see you guys in the next one, and that is about it. Peace out.